Thanksgiving is not a test of how well you can mask, perform, or meet neurotypical expectations. It's an opportunity to honor your own rhythms. If you're alone, you're sovereign. If you're solo at family gatherings, you're whole. If you're hosting, you're redefining hospitality. And if you're overwhelmed, you're listening to your body's wisdom. The reframe is this: Thanksgiving doesn't have to be about fitting in. It can be about belonging to yourself. Welcome to Inside the Pickle Jar, a podcast where we dive into the wonderfully quirky world of neurodiversity. I'm Tanya Weaver, your friendly neighborhood relationship coach specializing in neurodiverse individuals and neurodivergent myself. From communication tips to managing those "did you really just say that" moments, every episode will share real-life stories, expert advice, and practical strategies to help you tackle obstacles and build stronger, more fulfilling connections. Listen on to Inside the Pickle Jar, where every connection matters, every pickle has its place. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside the Pickle Jar. And as you all probably know, especially if you live in the United States, it's almost Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is one of those holidays where everybody gets together and talks about how wonderful being with family is and getting to catch up with those of members of friends and family that you haven't had a chance to see for a while. We all seem to sort of glamorize Thanksgiving, but for some people, Thanksgiving is a very anxiety-ridden day, an anxiety-ridden holiday. And it sort of kicks off major holiday season for the United States because a month after Thanksgiving, or a month or so, is Christmas and New Year's. I know some countries have Boxing Day, but in the United States, it can be difficult for some of my neurodivergent community friends. And so I wanted to talk today about how to sort of navigate Thanksgiving as a neurodivergent person. And there's a whole lot of ways to look at Thanksgiving. It doesn't matter whether you're spending holiday alone or if you're visiting family solo or you're hosting or if you're a big family visiting another big family. There's a lot of chaos and sensory and social overwhelm. And so I'm hoping in this episode is to, one, validate your experience, and another is to offer practical tools to help you. You know, holidays, if we're just going to get real here, I said they're painted as joyful, cozy, and uncomplicated, but for most of us on the spectrum or ADHD, there's a lot of expectations, unspoken rules, and a lot of overload that goes on. So hopefully, by the end of this conversation, you have some ideas on how you can reframe or strategize, and hopefully leaving you feel not just seen as someone who's stressing out over the upcoming Thanksgiving, but also very supported. So let's first start with the experience of being single and alone on Thanksgiving. So a lot of times society often frames this as something sad or lacking, but a reframe of this is that solitude can be a form of sovereignty. So if you've decided that you want to spend the day alone, or you have no choice and you're spending the day alone, it doesn't mean that you're missing out. It just means you have the freedom to design the day in a way that actually works for your brain and your body. So here's one idea. I think it's maybe a practical tool for you, even if you're not neurodivergent. Maybe you're neurotypical, but you're spending the holiday by yourself. Think about creating a micro tradition for yourself. It's something that you and you alone do. So, for example, maybe you're ordering your favorite takeout and you're watching a comfort show or your favorite movie. Maybe it is you've started a gratitude journal that's neurodivergent friendly. And that means you don't have to write long essays. Maybe instead in your gratitude journal, you write down sensory joys like the smell of coffee or the softness of my blanket. And so you should just know that it's that you're not failing at Thanksgiving. You're reclaiming Thanksgiving for yourself. And you're reclaiming it as a participant in Thanksgiving, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if loneliness creeps in, remember, loneliness is not proof that you're unlovable. It's simply a signal that your connection matters to you. And you can honor that by texting a friend, or maybe you can join an online community, or even listen to podcasts like this one as a form of gentle companionship. So I don't know if any of that resonates for you or how many of my listeners will be celebrating Thanksgiving alone, but that is an option for you. Maybe that'll give you some ideas. I especially like this idea of the micro tradition. You can go online, for example, and order a full Thanksgiving meal to be delivered to you that it's mostly cooked already. For my family, we decided this year we wanted to have a turducken. I've never cooked this before. I don't know anything about turduckens, but I went and I started Googling online and I found a whole Cajun feast. I didn't know turducken was Creole, but I found a whole turducken feast that included the sweet potatoes and the pecan pie and the stuffing. So it's going to be stuffed with pork sausage. And I have that coming the week of Thanksgiving. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is something new. Now, I am going to have lots of family in town. Both of my sons, my husband's son will be coming. And so we will have a large gathering. But if you're single, think of something fun that you can do, something that you've never tried before. Order that meal, buy that movie, or think about which ones you'd like to have in your quiver of ideas for that special Thanksgiving day. So then what happens if, though you're not spending Thanksgiving by yourself, you're actually going solo to go visit family in another city, another state, maybe it's around the block, but you've been invited to a family get-together and you are going alone. You're an adult and you're going alone. So I know walking into a family gathering without a partner or kids can sometimes feel like you're under a microscope. I don't know if your family does this. I know that my family did before I had children, but there were questions like, when are you going to settle down? And why are you alone? And those questions are like kind of sting. So the reframe for this is that showing up solo is not a deficit. It's a declaration of selfhood, and you're bringing your full self into the room, and you should know that's enough. Know that you are all that needs to come to the table. So here's a good tool that you can use when you get to your family get-together. Practice a few redirect scripts. So, for example, if someone asks about your relationship status, you can just say, I'm focusing on things that bring me joy right now, like my work, my friends, and my projects, and then pivot the conversation back to them. Then you can say, how are you doing? How are you and Jim, your husband, for example, doing? How are the kids? And take the focus off of you. One of the sensory strategies, though, that you may need, especially if you're a solo person and it's just really crazy and hectic in this environment with your siblings may have brought their kids, or there's just a crazy family dynamic. There's politics being talked that you don't want to participate in. Just identify a safe zone in the house, a quiet room. Maybe it's a porch or even the bathroom where you can retreat if the social energy gets too intense. And just know you don't owe anyone an explanation for your life path. Your presence is already a gift and you showed up. Another strategy that's really helpful is to arrive 10, 15, 30 minutes late and then leave 10, 15, 30 minutes early. You don't have to be the first person there and you don't have to be the last person there. Another strategy that some people have used is they get along great with the kids, and so a friend of mine, when she goes to big birthday parties where there's lots of people around or big family get-togethers, she focuses on the kids. And she goes and she plays games with the kids, and she goes outside and they swing in the swings and they play tag, and she will hang out with all of the younger children and becomes the fun aunt that everybody likes to hang out with. You can also bring games, like you might want to bring a board game, or if you happen to have a yard that you can play with the kids at, you could bring things like horseshoes, or there's a really great ball toss game called Ladder. So if you bring those games with you, you can set them up and get people involved. There's a game also we have here in the South called Cornhole, where they are two big giant boards that that are about 20 feet apart, and you throw these bean bags and try to get inside the hole of the big board that is 20 feet away. So we play a lot of those kinds of games, and that can sometimes depressurize having to have communication and weird conversations that's always so uncomfortable. And I would like to step in here and speak to my neurotypical hosts. If you are neurotypical, and you know that your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, someone that is coming to your dinner is neurodivergent, and you know probably has sensory overload, reach out to them ahead of time and say, hey, I just want you to know whatever I can do to make your visit more comfortable. I have the following games on hand if that looks like it would be helpful to you. And I also have, you can go and utilize this extra bathroom that's in another room at the end of the hallway. Maybe it's a master bathroom where if you want to go and decompress. Also pay attention because sometimes neurodivergent people sometimes get cornered by everybody. Every family has these. They are the family member that is always, they may be nosy or they might be antagonistic. Pay attention to whether or not your neurodivergent family member is getting cornered by this person and help run interference or have your spouse run interference for them so that there's a job to be had in making sure that everybody feels welcome and feels safe. This can be a cooperative family holiday and can be made much more enjoyable for everyone involved if you're neurotypical and you're paying attention and care about your neurodivergent family members. They will appreciate you so much and they will continue to come to any of your events. And it'll be a lot better story down the road if you're known for taking care of your neurodivergent family members. So just a reminder, I'm going to flip back, talk a little bit more about my neurodivergent community members that are maybe visiting your family solo. You're enough, and it's okay, and you're going to feel overwhelmed, and just think about your strategies ahead of time. Also think about conversation topics that you'd like to talk about. One idea I have for several of my clients is to bring a notepad and a topic of conversation. So maybe you want to collect movie ideas. So every time somebody gets you in a corner and wants to talk with you, maybe you ask them, what is your favorite Christmas movie? Because we're in Thanksgiving. And Christmas is around the corner, so maybe you go around and ask everybody what is their favorite Christmas movie, and that's sort of your icebreaker conversation, and then you can talk with them about why is that their favorite Christmas movie, or what about that Christmas movie do they like? And for some people, it's like, there are some Christmas movies out there that most Die Hard is always considered a Christmas movie. And so you can always throw that out and you can have a conversation about, do you also think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie as well? So you can also ask them, take up a collection of ideas for book titles. What's a good book that you've read lately? And you can use these too if they start talking about subjects that you're not comfortable with, like what is your relationship status? How do you feel about certain politics? You can always just, in any case, say, well, I'm giving some thought to that, but I am taking a poll of all of the best books that could be read, or what are the best Christmas movies to be watched over the holiday season. And you can use that to quickly change the subject and move away from any topics that make you feel really uncomfortable so that you don't have to just talk about the weather. So just bring a notebook, bring a couple of questions, collect some ideas. Maybe you want to find out where's the best place to take a vacation. Any of those kinds of things that you might find interesting or helpful will help get through the holiday season. And you're going to really show up for your family if you go and participate. And then you can just leave early when it gets to be too much. So what if you're like me and you're hosting a Thanksgiving dinner as a neurodivergent individual? So I don't know about you, but hosting can sometimes feel like the ultimate test of executive function. You've got planning, cooking, cleaning, socializing. There's just a lot going on. But here is the reframe for this. Hosting doesn't mean that you have to replicate a Norman Rockwell painting. It can mean creating a space that reflects your values and your capacity. So here's a practical tool for if you're a neurodivergent. You can use the low spoon hosting. It might look like maybe potluck style meals, or like I have done, ordering part of the food or setting clear start and end times. So, like I said, I ordered the food so I don't have so much cooking. And to be quite honest, my husband is a really great cook and he'll be doing most of it. But ask people to bring things. If people say, "Oh, that's great, we'd love to have it at your place," say, "Would you mind bringing a vegetable tray? Would you mind bringing the pecan or pumpkin pie?" And then saying, "The dinner will be from, I'll serve at 5 o'clock and it'll be over by 8 o'clock," or whatever length of time that sounds reasonable to you. Now, here's one thing. I kind of do this myself. If you break hosting into small quests, like I'm going to gamify it by getting the table set, lighting a candle, putting on music, and reward yourself with breaks after each quest. So I have to make this long list of to-do things. And then as I get each of those things done, I check them off. And I try to put them in a time sequence order. Like when do I want the following foods to come out? What are the following dishes that need to be made? How do I want to decorate? And so I make sure I put time and day for a deadline for each of the things that I know need to be done if I'm hosting a dinner. I do really great with check boxes and an action list so that I don't lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, remember, you're not failing if you keep it simple. You're modeling sustainable hospitality, and everybody else will look at you and realize that you've done this the smart way, and they may replicate this if it's their turn for the next year to host the Thanksgiving meal. Hosting is not about perfection. It's about connecting and being with family. And neurodivergent hosting can actually be revolutionary. It can show others that joy doesn't always mean burnout. You're not losing your mind. So, what do you do about managing sensory and social overwhelm? Well, I do know that Thanksgiving can be a sensory minefield. Last year, we had a very busy, hectic Thanksgiving. We probably had over 20 people in a very small house, lots of loud talking, and it was quite the overload for a lot of people because my sons are also neurodivergent. I'm neurodivergent, so there was a lot going on, and we invited a lot of people, and they all said yes. We didn't think they would, but they did, and we ended up having a really good time. But I recognize that the smells and sounds, the overlapping conversations, it crowds the space, and it's a lot. And for me, I have trouble discerning sounds. When I get into a busy environment, all sounds I hear them at the same level. So whether it's a whisper or whether it's a band playing in the background, like if I'm at a bar or at a restaurant where there's live music, I can't hear. And so I end up talking louder and louder and louder. And because I think I'm trying to get over the din of noise. And I'm just talking just way too loud. And then everybody at every table can hear me. So my husband has to tell me that I need to turn the volume down because I can't tell that I'm talking at a reasonable level. So if there's a lot of loud conversation, build a sensory survival kit. So maybe you're going to a family event or you're the host of a family event. Bring earplugs that sort of bring the noise down and you can still hear, but it's not as crazy loud as it would have been if you were just unfiltered at all. There's also noise canceling headphones that you can have. Bring a fidget tool or sunglasses. Maybe you have a favorite scent that helps ground you, and then maybe you wear it or put it on a handkerchief in your pocket or a bandana. Maybe it's a cologne that always calms you down. You can use scents to help. You can find a lot of fidget tools out there that you can keep in your pocket. I have a friend who uses round stones, and she keeps them in her pocket for a sort of a kinesthetic, calming, sensory overload, diminishing tool. You might find that helpful as well to sort of get rid of that potential energy and turn it into kinetic energy. One of the other things that you can do to avoid social overwhelm is give yourself permission to time box interactions. Maybe you say, like I said, come late, leave early. Maybe you agree to come for 2 hours instead of 6. Or you leave after dessert. Boundaries are not rude and they're protective. especially if you have your family member who's hosting the dinner, you can reach out to them and say, about what time do you think dinner will be served? Because I can only come for a couple of hours and I want to make sure I'm there, and bring a bottle of wine, bring a snack, bring a dessert, whatever to share. But you can go for a limited amount of time. So I hope that you can reframe this instead and think about that overwhelm doesn't mean that you're broken. It means your nervous system is giving you data, and listening to that data is an act of self-respect. It's okay. You don't have to be like everybody else, and you don't have to mask through this. You can be who you are and participate as much as you're able, but you're still going to get to participate and show up for your family. So here's some emotional resonance and reframes I'd like to share with you. The heart of it is that Thanksgiving is not a test of how well you can mask, perform, or meet neurotypical expectations. It's an opportunity to honor your own rhythms. And so if you're alone, you're sovereign. If you're solo at family gatherings, you're whole. If you're hosting, you're redefining hospitality. And if you're overwhelmed, you're listening to your body's wisdom. The reframe is this: Thanksgiving doesn't have to be about fitting in. It can be about belonging to yourself. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you're not failing at Thanksgiving. You're navigating it with the tools and truths that honor your neurodivergent experience. So whether you spend the day alone, or with a family, or in a way that looks completely different from tradition, you are valid. You are enough, and you deserve holidays that feel safe, joyful, and sustainable. So thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who might need a little validation this season. And remember, belonging starts with you. You don't have to be anything different than who you are. And you can just show up as you feel that you can cope. There's no reason for you to come back from a big family get-together and need 2 or 3 days to recover mentally and physically. I know a lot of people end up going to bed afterwards and they just feel like they just can't do any more, and it has become just too much for them. One other fun thing that you might want to do is create for yourself a Thanksgiving bingo card. 5 across, 5 down. You can think of different things like Uncle Mark tried to talk to me about the weather, or Susie asked about what I did for my job, or think of these fun bingo things and mark them off as you go along, and then it becomes a game for you to try to get people to say the things that you put on your bingo card. Maybe you share this with one other person and see who can reach bingo first. So I don't know if that is an idea that appeals to you, but hopefully you can have some fun and enjoy yourself and be yourself for this Thanksgiving holiday. So again, if this resonated with you, please share, maybe even share it with your neurotypical family members who might be hosting. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope I gave you some tactics that might help you survive and be prepared. It's just a couple of weeks away, so we need to start thinking about it now so you have a plan and you have a strategy. Please subscribe, share, tune in next week. I'll have some more info and ideas about day-to-day neurodivergent living, and I hope that you all are healthy, safe, and live well. Until next time,